starts now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Living Dayton on this Monday afternoon. I'm Sean Kreisman. Vanessa Freeman is off, so today we've got a special treat. 2 News Sports Director Jack Pohl is helping out on the big show. Good to have you, Jack.
Well, it's good to be here.
You look so sharp. I did not get the memo. I didn't get the memo.
I'm overdressed, but that's okay. We got a great show coming up for you today. A lot going on. Fishing is a great family activity, and coming up, we will show you how to sign up for a class that will have your kids reeling in the big one.
That's right. Plus, they just won the Ohio Valley Regional Tournament. The singers from Vega are live on the show.
And Sally Taylor is here in our Lifestyles kitchen cooking up a special breakfast favorite.
That's one of the perks of the job. You get to eat here, which is the fun part. Now, what's happening around the Miami Valley? Let's get a check of news and weather with Holly Samuels. Hey, Holly. Note, grab your poles. Jack is standing by with a great activity for you and your family this summer. Hey, Jack.
Well, Sean, that's right. It's a family favorite, and I know a lot of us have great memories of fishing with our kids and when we were kids fishing with our parents. And, well, we've got summer coming up right around the corner, and joining me now is Brant Folks. And, Brant, you've got a class coming up in Greene County that's going to allow parents to help get their kids started in fishing. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
That's right, Jack. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here and share a little bit more about this program. What we're going to be doing is what we call our Passport to Fishing program. We offer this at our district office in Xenia. And what we're going to be doing is actually allowing youth that have never had a chance to fish before, or maybe just limited experience fishing, they can come out and they can give it a try for the first time. We're going to teach them the basics of fishing, things such as rigging your fishing pole, tying knots. We'll teach a little bit about how to cast a fishing pole. We're even going to talk about some of the local places in the area that you might go fishing and hopefully have some success and maybe learn a little bit more about fishing.
Well, I see you brought a few things along with you today. Now, I don't know if this is in the beginner's class or not, but you know, this is a Quint, we're going to need a bigger boat kind of hook.
Absolutely.
But tell us a little bit about kids and getting involved in fishing, because one thing about fishing is patience, but there's also great reward.
Yes, there is a lot of reward in fishing, but like you said, it does take patience, and it also takes a little bit of background knowledge. A lot of the kids today just haven't had a chance to get out and fish before, and we really want them to have that very first opportunity to get out there and fish. We use some of these different props when we're teaching our classes. This is actually a shark hook, and you can see this from a good distance, from 4 or 5 feet away. And we've got a little bit of nylon cord. And this is something that we use to teach the kids. I might have 4 or 5 kids in front of me, and I can teach them a little bit about tying a knot. After all, tying a good knot when you're fishing is one of the most important things. Now, this obviously isn't a very realistic fish hook for fishing in Ohio. We like to tell the kids that you can catch a big fish with a small hook, but you can't catch a small fish with a big hook. So while this might be good for teaching them a little bit about tying a knot, it's probably not a good idea for fishing here in Ohio. You'd actually be using a hook about this big, which I just can't, you know, from 4 or 5 feet away, I can't show kids how to tie a knot on a fishing hook this big with fishing line that you can barely see even when you're up close. So we use a lot of these neat props when we're out there teaching this class.
Yeah, well, when you look at kids today, there's so much electronic media. You know, they're always on their phones and checking Facebook or playing video games. To get them out in the wilderness, to get them on a boat or next to a lake to cast out, that's something special. When you get to see a kid do that, it does make a difference, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It makes my day to see the kids come out. I really enjoy seeing a kid catch their very first fish, and I've gotten to witness that a lot of times. It's nothing like fishing on the video games. There's a lot of different video games out there where you can try this and you catch a fish on every other cast. It's a little bit different here, but we do have an opportunity to fish in some ponds that get fished rather rarely. We only open them up for these special educational events, and I feel pretty confident that kids are going to be able to come out there, probably catch their first fish. If not them, they'll at least see their partner beside them catch a fish. I'm sure of it. As long as the weather holds out for us, we'll be there rain or shine, as long as there's no thunderstorms.
Well, let's talk about how to get people signed up for this. How would someone go about getting their kids involved in this class?
Okay, absolutely. Well, I'm with the Division of Wildlife, which is part of the Department of Natural Resources. We have a district office in Xenia, and we really need you to call us ahead of time. You can call 937-372-9261, and you can get registered ahead of time. We have a limited number of seats for the class, so really important that you give us a call ahead of time, or you can check out our website, which is really easy to remember. It's wildohio.com, and on there you can learn about this event and how to get a hold of me, or you can learn about some of the other great events that we have going on in our area and all over the state. We have a lot of events like this out there.
All right, Brant, folks, thank you so much for stopping by and seeing us. Get on that website, get signed up for that class. All righty, stay tuned to Living Dayton. We've got Vega in the studio today. Find out what the choir from Chaminade Julienne is up to coming up next.
That's right, and the folks will tell you now. Jack, you and I will just leave the singing to these guys. What do you got going on over there?
Well, we won't be singing over here, but hundreds of young Dayton professionals are networking together thanks to Up Dayton, an initiative designed to encourage economic growth. Laura Estendia and Val Hunt Bierbauer join us now with information on how to get you in the loop. Laura, we'll start with you. Talk a little bit about this. It's less than a week away.
That's right. It's this Friday, April 19th at the Dayton Art Institute from 2 to 6 p.m. Dayton's Young Talent will be gathering to talk about how to make the city of Dayton better.
Well, let's be more specific about that. Exactly what will be concentrated on to get this initiative started?
We have 3 areas that we're concentrating on for this particular summit. So one of them is the Livability Challenge. We're looking at different ways that young professionals and adults living in the Dayton area can make their city more livable through urban vibrancy and also through stronger neighborhoods. We also have the Campus Challenge, and we're trying to figure out how to get more students interacting with the downtown area. So we have that as another part, and the third area of focus is going to be the Entrepreneur Challenge. We're going to try to work together to come up with some kind of contest that will eventually launch a YP-owned business. So it's really exciting.
Well, talk a little bit more about that entrepreneurial challenge. I mean, this is exciting because young people have usually the best ideas, the freshest ideas, and the most contemporary ideas.
Yeah, that's very true. And a lot of times what holds young professionals back from launching into that themselves is just a lack of resources or lack of awareness of existing resources. So what we want to do at Up Dayton at the summit that's taking place this Friday at the Dayton Art Institute is connect those dots together and try to show people what resources they have available, and then we'll use those resources to have the contests and launch a business.
Well, Laura, we talk about young entrepreneurs. Exactly what ages are we looking at here? What is the age group that'll be there?
Roughly, we'll have some college students there participating, especially in the Campus Challenge, but typically 22 to 40-year-olds. But Up Dayton is not strict to that 40 and under age range. There are people there that are over 40. If anyone is passionate about our mission, we want them to be involved and come to the summit.
There are plenty of people young at heart.
Exactly.
Can people still get involved in this and be here this week?
Yes, absolutely. If you log on to updayton.com/registration, all the information about this event will be listed online, including our keynote speaker, Mayor of Braddock, Pennsylvania, John Fetterman. He's a really exciting person to watch. He came into Braddock as an AmeriCorps volunteer, was so passionate about his city that he ran for office, was elected mayor by 1 vote, and then eventually became so popular that he ran for a 2nd term and was reelected by a landslide. So it's going to be a really inspiring speech to hear from him.
All right, and you guys are looking forward to this. Obviously, when all the dust settles and everyone leaves, what do you expect to get out of this?
Well, we expect to launch 3 different projects within the community from those 3 challenge areas that Val outlined. And after the summit, we'll have an action plan launch where that'll be the first meeting that will outline the leaders of those projects, the task timeline, and then those projects will be completed by the summit next year.
All right, well, thanks so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. Coming up on Living Dayton, Montgomery County's Ann Stevens is in our Stafford Jewelers Diamond Room. She talks about a big fundraiser featuring a Kennedy. Welcome back to Living Dayton. Unfortunately, the stigma of mental illness is all too prevalent in our society, but the effects are real. Joining me today is Ann Stevens, Public Relations Coordinator for Montgomery County Alcohol, Drug, Addiction, and Mental Illness Services. Annie, how are you?
I'm great, Jack.
It's good to see you again. We're old friends, so
Absolutely.
That's a good thing. Well, Annie, just give us an update on this, because we do understand that mental illness is treated differently than physical illness.
Oh, absolutely, and it shouldn't be. We are trying to encourage people to look at it as a physical illness. There are a lot of stigmas associated with mental health, and this unfortunately prevents people with mental health issues from coming forward. They're afraid. And we need to get rid of that barrier so that they can get treatment, and people with mental illness integrate into our society. It varies from depression to Alzheimer's, the whole gamut, and we shouldn't be afraid to talk about it.
Well, you mentioned how they're afraid to come out. If I see a guy limping down the road, obviously I know he's hurt his leg or something like that. But you can't always see mental illness, even in your family members. Is there a way to look for signs?
Well, there is, and it depends on what type of mental illness. But take, for example, depression. People with depression are functioning every day in our society. We work with people who are suffering from depression. And you identify those mental illnesses by their isolation, for instance, in depression. They can start isolating themselves from the rest of the world. Sometimes they try to harm themselves. A lot of people think that others with mental health issues are violent and want to lash out at people, and not necessarily. A lot of people with mental health issues inflict pain upon themselves. They harm themselves, they commit suicide, they do cutting with themselves, and so those are things to look out for on the extreme side. But every day we run into people with mental health issues who are functioning.
Well, that brings us to the obvious point then. I find a family member, a friend, a coworker who I know is dealing with something like this, or even, oneself. What should they do? What would be the first step? A phone number, a website? Where do you go?
Well, you have to get the person some help, and it can be through a private physician. If it's things like depression, they can put them on medical pills or whatever the physician determines they need. But for somebody who is in crisis, you want to call crisis care. Mm-hmm. That's the first step. Make sure that you get to the hospital or you get them treatment.
Yeah, and you have an event coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We do. We're very fortunate to have former U.S. Senator Patrick Kennedy come into town on May 1st at Sinclair Community College. It's a fundraiser for the Dayton Mental Health Foundation. And Patrick Kennedy himself suffers from bipolar disease, and he's been a big advocate for mental health issues, and he's one of the people who is pushing out the idea, the concept that we need to embrace mental health as a disease, not something to be afraid of. And so he'll be coming to Sinclair Community College. Tickets are still available, and we'd love to see everybody there.
All right. Well, Annie, thank you so much for being on the program.
Thanks,
It's so
Jack.
good to see you again. Stay with us. Coming up on Living Dayton, Mary Poppins is bringing a spoonful of sugar at the Victoria Theater. And that's not all. News about some really big shows coming right here to Dayton.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one. And the folks from Stivers are in the Safford Jewelers Diamond Room. Godspell is happening this weekend, and they'll tell you how you can see it. Coming up.
Welcome back to Living Dayton. Stivers School of the Arts is gearing up for a big year. From performances to events, it's all happening. And to tell us more about it are Paula Pohl, choir director at Stivers School for the Arts, and John Finley, theater tech director at Stivers School of the Arts as well. Tell us about what's coming up. Paula, we'll start with you.
Well, we have worked for several months on Godspell, and we go up on Friday, the 19th, and Saturday, the 20th at 8 o'clock.
You know, Godspell must be a great challenge, but you guys have the caliber of talent at Stivers that can get this done. Tell me what it's like working with students on such a famous production like this.
We have such a great cast. They're very talented actors and singers and dancers, and they've been very easy to work with and very easy to direct. And I just couldn't have asked for a better cast.
When you look at this production, what challenges do you personally face?
As technical director, it was kind of a balance. We looked at, as far as what to do for a set, we chose to really bring the community aspect alive in the show. So our set actually takes place in the Oregon District in Dayton, which was fun to bring in all those different elements of Dayton with the students and bring it all to life on our stage.
Yeah, we're seeing some of the pictures that you guys gave us for this, and it just looks amazing. When the kids get out there and interact with these beautiful sets, and I mean, this is their zone, isn't it? Isn't this what these kids are going to Stivers for?
Yes, and I have to say that the technical theater program this year has made it very easy for us as actors and singers and dancers to be very creative on the set as well.
Well, talk about that. How, I mean, it's not just the kids that are singing and that are acting out there, but that tech has a lot to do with it.
We have 12 students in our afternoon program who this is what they want to do beyond high school, beyond college. Those students are entering into this career tech program. They're really working hard to be able to build these professional style sets. We've got this ginormous 35-foot deep break stage, which is something that you just don't find at a lot of high schools. We really build these big, elaborate sets.
Well, I would think at Stivers, a lot of these kids know what they want to do. And isn't that a great advantage as you head forward in life? A lot of kids can't even figure out even through college.
Right.
You know,
Right.
Does that make a difference? Do you see that in these kids?
I think it does. And those who don't, they get a little taste of what it's like to be on stage, and they get the spark, and they start thinking, maybe I'll do this for a living. So,
Yeah. Well, let's go over this. If people want to come this week to this great production, what can they do to show up?
well, come to Stivers School for the Arts, Centennial Hall. It'll be April 19th and 20th at 8 p.m. And if they want to order tickets, they can order at 542-7409.
Well, you can never underestimate the power of kids in a production like this, am I right?
Absolutely. They're just incredible. Vocally, acting, everything, every aspect of this is just an incredible performance.
All right. Well, I was blessed to have kids that went through that, and it was so much fun and so impressive. So check it out this weekend. Keep it here. Coming up on Living Dayton, some trees that are going to make a big difference here in the Miami Valley. The final 60 is moments away.
Coming up.
Katie airs right here on WDTN at 4, and then stay tuned for 2 News at 5.
All right, very good. And it's that time again, time for the final 60. And we've got 3 big things that you need to know about happening in the Miami Valley. So here we go. Hundreds of cherry trees will soon be blooming in the Miami Valley. Yesterday, volunteers grabbed shovels and planted 100 trees at the National Museum of the United States Air Force. The project is part of Operation 1000 Cherry Trees. Now, the trees are symbols of gratitude from Japan for the Miami Valley's cleanup efforts following the tsunami.
The Dayton VA Medical Center is hoping to expand a Southern Indiana satellite clinic. Officials from the medical center hope to lease a 12,000 square foot building with more parking spaces than its current location. The clinic that opened back in 2000 provides primary care and outpatient mental health, among other services.
That's right, and here's a good one. If you're thinking of taking a road trip this spring or summer, we have some good news for you. The summer gas price outlook has been released, and prices are expected to be the lowest in 3 years. Now, prices in Dayton currently average about $3.29 a gallon. They could drop even lower due to high gasoline inventory and a continuing drop in demand. So good news there. Guys, if you missed anything on Living Dayton, of course, you can always check it out on livingdaytontv.com and watch your favorite segments. And of course, we do want to thank you so much for watching the show, and thank all of our guests, and especially Jack for being here today, co-hosting and filling in for the big show. We appreciate it, Jack.
And Sean, thanks for having me. And don't forget, you can always keep the Living Dayton conversation going on Facebook and Twitter. Days of Our Lives is coming up next. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate
Good time.